Hello, hello. Thank you for coming back to my channel. If this is your first time, then welcome to my channel. My name is Jennifer and this is Jen the Bookworm. So today is the September wrap-up October TBR film video. I almost did 2 videos because September has been action-packed for me, full of books. I have never read this many books before, so I'm terribly excited to bring to you this wrap-up. But also, I have a pretty ambitious October coming up, so here we are. So first, let's start with the September wrap-up. What I read in September, a little bit about each book, but I'm not going to go into huge detail. And then we'll carry on to October. So in September, I started out September with a Dresden File Books, White Knight by Jim Butcher. And this is number 9 in the Dresden Files. And I started with this book because I needed a shorter book. It's like 13 hours or so. And I needed a shorter book because I knew on September 6th that Stephen King's fairy tale was going to drop. And I wanted to have a book. I didn't want to wait till the 6th to start reading, but I also didn't want to break out my Brandon Sanderson book and then not be able to keep up with everyone reading fairy tale. So I read the Dresden Files. I'm still really enjoying... Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on out there. Still really enjoying the series. I'm at the point where everyone says, okay, now it gets phenomenal. I think it's been pretty darn good up to this point, so I don't know what's in store for me, but right now I kind of have to put the series away. And hopefully I'll get back to it before the end of this year, but I have a couple things coming up the next couple months, so I can't really read Dresden for a little bit. But I did read that. Then when the 6 came out, I dropped everything and started reading Fairy Tale by Stephen King. It was my return to Stephen King, and it was a very positive experience for me. I have already done a vlog and a 1-hour review of this, so I'm not going to go into anything more, just to say that I read it, I really enjoyed it, and you should check out those reviews if you are interested in reading it yourself. Then I picked up Stoner by John Williams. I have no idea why this book is a good book. It just is. It's a really good book. Really fascinating. But really, I'm not sure why it's fascinating. I'm not sure why it's so good. But it really is. I probably would give this book like a 4-star rating. But there were a couple of things that I wanted to bring up, like, and I'm going to say these things and it's going to make you think, why should I pick this book up? I don't know, but you should. It's good. But one of the things, like, I feel like John Williams wrote this book having never observed actual human interaction before. Like, his characters would not fly now. This was a classic book. If this was published now, or tried to be published now, I'm not sure people would quite feel like this is a realistic idea of how humans interact with one another. Like, for instance, when his wife wants to get pregnant, she, informs him one day at breakfast she wants to get pregnant. And he's like, okay, and he goes off to work. And she just goes upstairs and gets undressed and lays in bed and then lays there like a stiff board the whole time he's at work. She doesn't move. She doesn't do anything. She just lays there naked in bed. And the interaction, the way he describes it, it's like I felt like she was the most repulsed person in the world by her husband. But she's going to sit there and grin and bear it until he did his thing so that she could get pregnant. And then it was just like, this is not how people usually interact with one another. And later on in the series, he's describing a woman who has a crush on somebody, or who has feelings for somebody, but he describes her in such a way that the facial expressions she gives him are angry and pain. Like, her facial expressions are a mixture of pain and anger. That's not how people look at you when they are falling for you, dude. So there are some things in here I'm just like, has he seen humans before interact? But despite those things, I don't know. It was a very interesting read, and I'm glad I did it. So I'm there for it. But I don't know why it was a good book, but it was. After that, I moved on to Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. Glad to have been able to fit in a little Brandon Sanderson because I'm not going to be able to for a little while. And I really liked Warbreaker. It was a standalone book about two sisters. One sister going to rescue the other, and I have to say I was really pleasantly surprised. I'm still not 100% sure why I was told to stop where I am and Stormlight and read this and go and read A Little Mistborn before I move on with Stormlight. But I'm trusting the process. I'm doing what the experts have advised. So I am doing that. But I really did enjoy this book quite a lot. I give it a 4-star, I think. Or maybe a 3.75. I don't know. It was a really good book. I don't think it was necessarily like Stormlight Archive great, but it was a really good book, and I liked that it was a contained story. So I definitely recommend checking that out if you want a contained story. It's good fantasy elements. I really, really liked some of the characters in this book. They were really good characters. So my dark horse for this month, the one I wasn't sure about at all, was going to be City of the Lost by Kelly Armstrong. Now, I've read some Kelly Armstrong before. She wrote Bitten and a series of books like Other Worlds, Women from the Other World, or Other World series or something like that. I read maybe 6 or so books in that series and enjoyed her, but I haven't read her a lot since then. And what she had written before was urban fantasy. And this didn't seem like it was fantasy at all. And it wasn't. I got into this book almost immediately. I wasn't expecting to get into it so heavily. I wasn't expecting to read it in 2 days, which is what happened. I flew through it because it was so interesting. And I'm finding, it reminded me a little bit of Northern Lights by Nora Roberts, and I'm finding that these remote, small town locations, I'm there for them. I like these books that are contained within an area and you don't get a lot of outside interference. So it was a very fun read. I'm not going to give too much away. I might do a review on this at some point. But it was very good. Those were the 5 books of my September TBR. That's what I set out to read, and I did read it, but I read those books. I was done in, I think I had a week and a half left of September. I had a week and a half left of September, and I read 5 books. How did that happen? So I decided to see what else I could read in September and what else I could get through. So I brought up my Audibles account with all of those books that I had just bought and started looking through to see what small books could I knock out. I decided to read a book called Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna McGuire. And I had heard about this book series from, I believe, Elliot Brooks. And the even books in the series are about kids who went to a doorway world, like think Narnia type world, and then came back and find themselves somewhat lost in this world and want to go back. They're trying to find their doorways back to what they now consider to be their home world. And the even number books are about the kids experiencing their doorway world. So I read the first 2. I'd gotten the first 2 so I could see. Elliot really says she liked the second book, the even number books better. But I got one of each so that I could see what I felt. And I really liked them. I liked them probably equally. They were short books. They're about 4-hour reads, but a little more than 4 hours. but it was really good. It felt a little bit like a young adult book until they threw in the F word. It wasn't a young adult book. It's not written for kids, but it almost had a feeling of being kind of a kid's story. In the first one, the character that we follow, Nancy, she's very melancholy because she's come back from her world. She doesn't want to be in this world. She wants to find her way back home. And she's sent to this special school for troubled kids because her parents don't believe her when she talks about where she had been. It was a little bit of a melancholy character, and so it put me in kind of a melancholy mood. But it wasn't bad, as I like when I experience the books, even when I'm not reading them, I'm experiencing them. So I liked that. The second book is called Down Among the Sticks and Bones, also Shauna McGuire, and that one follows some kids that we met in the first book. It follows their lives as they go through their world, and so there are multiple portal worlds out there, or doorway worlds. There's every doorway world a little bit different, and some of them are whimsical, and some of them are nonsense worlds, and some of them are darker, and so there's a whole scale of different kinds of worlds and stuff. It's very fascinating. Also, the second book was only about 4.5 hours or so, but it was very good. I enjoyed both of those. I finished those, and I still had a few days in September left, so I decided I would start Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I've been hearing a lot about this book through booktube, and but it's made the rounds, and everyone says this is great, cozy book, and I have to agree. To me it read like a person who had this role-playing character. They've been in D&D character, that they've been playing this D&D character for years now, and they've got this character up to this point, and the DM says, okay, we're going to stop playing this game, move on to something new. And this person wanted to give the happily ever after story of their D&D character. That's what it felt like to me. It was very sweet. It was very cozy. I got it all done in one day. It was 6 hours and some. It was not a long book, but it was fun. It was low stakes, as it says on the cover. Main character is an orc who is opening up a coffee shop in a place where they don't know what coffee is, and she has a partner, which I think in the other video I said was a tiefling. She's not a tiefling, she's a succubus. And so the two women who are, their races are often misunderstood, they come together to do something as wholesome as starting a coffee shop. So I think it was a great story. Definitely recommend that. I think it was a 5-star read for me the whole way through. I just loved it. So I finished that book on the 27th. Today is the 28th of day of filming, and this is probably going up on Friday, which I believe is the 30th. Yeah, 30th. And so I have a couple days left, so I decided to start one more book just to see if I could get another book in there. So I'm currently reading Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. I've been wanting to get into T. Kingfisher. I've heard really good things. I'm a few hours into this book. I'm liking it. So far there's a lot of looking back, a lot of flashbacks and stuff like that. The story is not told in chronological order, but that's okay. I'm not lost or anything. I'm getting it just fine. So far I really like it. It isn't a low stakes book or anything, so it's not cozy, and it's not giving me the same vibes as the other books, but it's definitely a good book so far. So I'm probably going to have to give my review for this in my October wrap-up, because I don't think I'll have another video filmed before the end of September. But that's what I'm reading right now, and I'm hoping to get it done before the 1st of October. So that brings me to, what am I going to read in October? So October is obviously the season everybody goes to reading some horror or thriller or spooky. It's spooky season. So A lot of my peeps are reading spooky stuff, and I am not going to be an exception. I wanted to see how many horror and dark books I can read in this month. So I'm not reading any more Dresden for right now, or I'm not reading any Brandon Sanderson this month. I'm strictly going with horror and darker, spookier reads. So the first one that I plan to read this month is The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty. I'm so excited for this one. I've not read The Exorcist, and I've never seen the movie. Of course, I know some of the iconic movie moments in it, but I've never actually watched the movie. I'm a little picky about my exorcism story lines, but this is the granddaddy of them. This is where it seems to have started. So I'm excited to read this, and I will happily be reading this as a buddy read with Theo from Rekindled Reader. So I'm really excited to read this with him and to talk it over with him, discuss with him what's going on and my feelings about it and stuff like that. And I think there might be a few other people who are going to jump in on that, and that's great. More the merrier. I feel like reading it with somebody, because Fairy Tale was the first time in September. Fairy Tale was the first time I ever did kind of a read along thing. It was so fun. It was so energizing. It was so motivating. So I'm really hoping that me and Theo reading this together will be motivating and energizing and make this experience 10 times better. So I'm really looking forward to that book. I also want to read a John Saul book because he is my favorite horror author, and it seems a shame not to read him in the spooky month. So I will be reading one of his old ones called Set for the Children, and it's about a 10-hour long 10.5 hour long read on audiobook. So I'll be going through that one. Another one that I really wanted to try, I've been hearing a lot about Anya Allborn, and I really wanted to try her book Brother. It sounds like, she sounds like a really good up and coming horror author. So I really wanted to give her a try, and I'll be reading that book in October as well. The next book I wanted to read is The Woman in Black. Now, I've seen the Daniel Radcliffe movie, Woman in Black. This is a ghost story. And this is by Susan Hill. But I've seen the movie, but I've seen it so long ago, I really don't remember much about it. There's a woman and she's in black. That's what I remember. So it's almost like going in fresh. And this is a shorter book. A lot of the horror books I find are shorter books. So I'm going to go into this, and then maybe I will rewatch the movie and do a comparison. The next book I really want to read is The Haunting of Hill House, and this is by Shirley Jackson. And I've watched the Netflix adaptation. I hear it's not a very true to book adaptation, though I think it's a very good series. It's a little like one shot, or it's like 10 episode, one season series. But I have heard it's not the same as the book, but I'm really interested to see the differences, and I've heard that the book is really good, so I'm interested in that. Those are the books that I intend to take on my October TBR. It's 5 books, which up till now, other than September, 5 books has been out of reach for me. So I have those 5 books up, but I'm looking at how many hours are within all these books, and it's only like 46 hours or so of reading. I probably could fit in a little bit more in the month of October. So I have a couple of books kind of on the back burner waiting. If I need to have more books in the month, I've got more books lined up. Some of those books are The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. I just recently found out that this book was the inspiration for the Netflix adaptation, The Haunting of Bly Manor, which I thought was a really great series, directed by Mike Flanagan, who also directed the Haunting of Hill House adaptation on Netflix. He also did Midnight Mass. I love everything he's done. I've loved so far. So I'm really into him, and I'm into his wife, Kate Segal. She's the lead in a lot of these, and so I'm into it. And if they adapted it from this book, The Turn of the Screw, I want to read it. So I've got that on there. I've got a really short book called The Test, which it looks like it's a citizen's test, like to get into England, Britain citizen test. But it's not about the written test. It's about the things they do to you during the test. It determines whether or not they want you in their country. And that sounds like a pretty fun read. And it's only like a 2-hour read, so it's not much. Hellmouth, which is a novella by Giles Christian. I heard from Mike's book reviews that this was an awesome book. So I really wanted to experience it. Maybe make me read more of Giles Christian. I've never read anything by him. So I've got that there. At the Mountains of Magic by H.P. Lovecraft. Enough said. It's H.P. Lovecraft. I mean, there isn't a better time to read H.P. Lovecraft, in my opinion. So I've got that there if I need another book to queue up. There's a book called Nana by Brandon Massey. This looks like it's a Be Careful What You Wish For kind of book. A woman who wishes to have a close relationship with her biological mother. Someone shows up claiming to be her biological mother, and stuff ensues. So we'll see what happens there. But it sounds like a good horror, psychological mystery type book. So we'll see what that is about. I also have The Girl from the Well by Ren Chepeko. Chepeko, I think is how you pronounce it. Anyway, Ren Chepeko. And it looks like it's a Ring/Grudge type story. So it seems like it would fit this season. The Witchcraft of Salem Village by Shirley Jackson. Now, Shirley Jackson also wrote The Haunting of Hill House. And everyone who's read The Haunting of Hill House says, I wish I'd read more Shirley Jackson. So I've got this other book by Shirley Jackson. Seems like it might be a good fit. And lastly, The Amityville Horror by Jay Anson. I've never read it. I've never seen the movie. For someone who likes horror, I really haven't gotten into some of these older stories. So this is another story I can get into to kind of fill in the foundation works a little bit. It sounds like a good book. It certainly sounds like a good fit for an October TBR. So I am definitely looking forward to if I get a chance to pick that one up. So this is like another 30 hours of books. And if I have time, I will start searching up what other people are reading and read more. But I think this is a very ambitious schedule for me. I also have my birthday comes in October. My sister's birthday comes in October. My niece's birthday comes at the beginning of November. We've got Halloween in there. We've got, a fifth grader that I take care of. I mean, I got a lot of other things, but I'm going to see how much of this reading I can fit in to there, and maybe some spooky movie watching as well. So we'll see what I can fit in to the month of October, but this is my very ambitious TBR. We will see how I get through it. And I will keep you updated. I'll probably post a mid-month freak out or check-in, whichever I end up doing at the moment, just to let you know what I've gotten through and how I'm liking it. And I have considered doing a vlog, but I think maybe a vlog might be too much. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what I do. I might do some reviews and stuff as I'm going. So thank you very much for coming and spending this time with me. Thank you very much for coming in and being interested in what I read last month and what I'm going to read this coming month. Your support means everything to me, and if you have enjoyed this and you haven't hit the like button, maybe consider doing that. And if you haven't subscribed, consider doing that too. I post every Friday without fail, and I've been trying to trickle in a couple more postings throughout the week if I can. So if you're interested in seeing more of my content, please hit subscribe and the notification bell so that you always know when I'm posting. And I appreciate very much your time, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.